All right, everybody, welcome back to the second episode of Booth Review. We are going over week 4 of the college football. Down below, I have Joe. To my right, Cody. We're in the booth. Let's go for a quick review. Joe, go ahead and
Let's
start
get
us off.
So we're gonna start out with our upset predictions and bold predictions, and give us our each point. I had NC State beating Clemson. They didn't even cover the spread. They lost by 24. The spread was 20.5, so I get 0 points. And Ollie Gordon, I don't even think he had 50 total yards, let alone 250. So I'm going to be in last place right now. As Cody had BYU beating Kansas with a 7 point spread,
easy dub.
and then Dylan Raiola throwing 3 interceptions, and he fumbled twice. He recovered both of them, and he only had thrown 1 interception. So you're not going to get any points for that one.
I think I should
Ethan,
get at least 1 point.
No points. It's okay. Me
fine.
too. Me
Then
too.
I get a point for the 50 yards. Like no,
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
he
in the
had three
same boat.
turnovers.
You didn't say turnovers.
uh,
You said interceptions.
he fumbled twice. He did not lose them, so they were not.
All right.
Fair.
So
Keep going. Keep going.
yeah.
What we got? What we got?
Illinois did beat Nebraska with a 9.5 point spread. That's 2 points right there. So you and Cody are tied with two. Do you want me to discuss what your bold prediction was and how bad it was?
I'll go ahead and say it. My bold prediction was on Jackson Arnold, and he got taken out of the game because he was playing terribly. No thanks to the offensive line, but they were playing a solid number five team. So but it's looking good with Hawkins. So maybe he's
We'll
next on my
we'll
predictions.
see. We'll-
I would leave the OU predictions alone.
yeah, you never bet on your own team.
But at least you're not sitting on a donut like Joe down there.
2 points. Two
What?
points. 2
What'd you
points.
say to me?
You're sitting on
Okay.
a donut.
What else?
Yeah,
you
but
got
what
for
it,
us?
what is the punishment? Like I could just go through and never worry about this.
We'll
If you
discuss
don't,
it. We'll discuss it.
We'll discuss the last place. Okay, if you got some
Yeah.
ideas. All right. That does end the recap on the predictions. I
And if
can't believe it
you're
was
watching
that
this on
bad.
YouTube and you want us to record a good punishment, leave a comment down below.
Uh, please make it not terrible.
Yeah, nothing illegal, ridiculous, like in terms of can ruin your life.
I hear Cody's not opposed to wearing a dress.
make it college football related. There we
Yes.
go.
Yeah. All right, moving on. I want to start with just top headlines for this past week. I'm just going to touch on a couple. Like I said, Tennessee up to 5, Missouri falls um, just ahead of Georgia, and Bama tilt. Uh, LSU star linebacker Perkins is out with a torn
ACL.
ACL. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then speaking of Nebraska, their quarterback, his little brother Dayton, just committed to Nebraska as well.
I think their dad went there or works there, or somebody they know works there. That's not a surprise on they did.
Yeah, they have a family member on the coaching staff right now, I believe.
I wanna start with talking about that USC Michigan game just because I want to get it out of the way and not want to give flowers to a team I hate. I caught most of it, but also not a lot of it. My son's soccer game was in that game during that time, so I'm like peeking down at the phone while trying to make sure he stops the goal since he was playing goalie this weekend. I mean, Miller Moss was on the ground like every time I looked down. There was 76 offensive snaps, and I'm pretty sure Miller Moss was touched on every single one of them. Like he was at a
Yeah,
Diddy party right there.
yeah, he did have 3 touchdowns, 283 yards, but the completions 28 completions of 51 attempts. I just don't.
I actually
I
think that was fine for the pressure that he was accumulating, and the fact that they had negative 16 offensive rushing yards going into the half. Like it had to be on his shoulders, and I know he threw a pick six, and that's probably the difference in the game right there. But you're knocked down every other time you drop back, and you still go 28 for 51 with 3 touchdowns, and still looking like you were going to make plays to get them into field goal range to tie it at the end of the game. So I
I
was impressed.
just, yeah, I like the 3 touchdowns. I like the 283 yards. I just think, besides him being on the ground for, I mean, a negative 27 yards, they had
Yeah, I don't think he ran the ball. I think
Woody
that was
Marks had
almost an
100 rushing
accident.
yards, and then Joyner had 23 rushing yards. So that's 123, but you take off his 27, they're, as a team in that game, they're not even eclipsing 100 rushing yards. I'd like to see them put it on the ground more, especially if, because maybe their linemen will do better pushing Michigan back there on the ground
Um,
more than pass protecting.
they
Because
had negative 16 rushing yards in the first half. That wasn't
I
going to happen.
just,
They had to throw the ball, and the throwing the ball opened it up. I just think that their offensive line needs to be looked at, worked with, and see what it goes over. But like Miller Moss took credit for that problem at the end of the game. He's like, "This is on me. I lost this game." He threw a pick six in the second half, and then the defense got trounced by Michigan's backup running back on that last drive.
yeah, he was
And
sacked
so,
four
but
times.
yeah, he was sacked 4 times, but like I would think there was still in the
Oh, he
beginning of the fourth
probably,
quarter. Yeah,
yeah,
beginning
I
of the
don't
fourth
have a,
quarter or third quarter or something like that. I couldn't find the advanced statistics on it. I think it was like 15 hurries and 11 knockdowns. Like
yeah, I
it's
don't have
ridiculous.
pressure stats, but
He was under pressure the whole game. I was thoroughly impressed looking at stats outside of it, just watching the game. Um,
Is
but
anybody willing to give me some flowers? Because
for what?
I did say last week Michigan's going to run the ball. They had 32 total yards passing and 290 yards rushing. I said
which
that if they were going to do that, this game was going to be close. And they did that.
yeah, but realistically, like a lot of that came towards the beginning and end of the game, and you got to give USC's defense credit. I think they played a lot better than what people are thinking with giving up those runs. Like you're gonna be tired. They're not used to a ground and pound type of style of offense and playing in the Pac-12 for so many years. But I mean, for their first showing playing in the big house, I thought they did really well. I'm
I
surprised they
will
didn't win it
say,
out.
for Michigan to go along with that 290 rushing yards, Donovan Edwards had a fumble and Michigan lost it. Uh, Kenneth Grant had a fumble and Michigan lost it.
Yeah,
So
So
my
it
question
probably
is,
could have been worse if they don't fumble or if they don't give up those fumbles.
I think it looks pretty bad for USC in the fact that they got ran all over. And you can say, well, they only lost by 3 points. But at what point in the game do you realize this is a run play? This is a run play. This is going to be a run play. This is going to
yeah.
be a run play.
I
They
don't.
threw the ball 12 times that game.
I think the addition of Alex Orji being in that run game was enough to be like, okay, now we have two options. This dude's kind of a freak athlete. What are we gonna do? And like I said, other than like a busted run on that last drive that went for like 60 yards, where the dude just ran through three people and then had space to go, like they committed to the run and then had three broken tackles to make a 60-yard gain. Like they don't get that play right there. Michigan loses that game, and it's because they can't throw the ball. Like at that point, like USC had a dude go down like 3 or 4 times in that last possession, just hurting because running the ball and getting ran at is a lot of heat to be taken.
All right. What game you want to talk about next, or do you have a specific topic you want to move to, Joe?
Um, I did want to shout out the Nebraska Illinois game. That was a great Friday night game. OT, Dylan Raiola lost that game trying to be Patrick Mahomes, and he needs to stop mimicking and start building himself. Because if you're just gonna mimic, people are gonna know what to do because they've seen Patrick Mahomes. And I'm sorry, you're a freshman, you're not as good as him. You look good. I've been impressed with them, and I was still kind of impressed with them in the Illinois game, but they lost in overtime because of the inexperience of the quarterback in that game.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to think not Patrick Mahomes wasn't even Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech his freshman year. Like he developed properly. He just a lot of people think they can just go out there and sling it like they're a day one starter in the NFL or on a top 4 team in college football, and they don't they don't try to go through the development process properly, and it's just disgusting the way it looks when they come out in the field and try to perform like that.
Yeah, well,
I
shout
would
out
like
to
to talk
the.
about. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say shout out to the Friday games. I mean, but all three of the games, Stanford, Syracuse, Illinois, Nebraska, and then I can't remember the other one, but they were all. I think two of them were overtime games, and the other one was decided by 3 points. So Friday night games were on point this week.
Yeah,
The,
Friday I
the,
think
the
was
lights
definitely
shine
better than
brighter on
Saturday.
Fridays.
Friday was
I
definitely
have
better than Saturday.
There are some interesting things that happened Saturday though. I did really enjoy that Tennessee game. Um, I'm surprised by how bad the offense is because
So
that defense kept them in that game.
I
That
will
game was a
say,
winnable game, and the defense looks elite and ready for the SEC.
yeah,
I
and
don't know
that's
that a
what
Tennessee will play that bad against another defense this year.
as an OU fan, I think that's really exciting because that was like the number one thing that people were worried about going into the SEC was Big 12 defense. These two Big 12 defenses coming to the SEC, they're not going to last. Um, I think Tennessee averaged 40 points a game going into that game. Granted, they hadn't really played uh, anybody just like OU. You know, they're playing the lower Group Fives or maybe a lower Power Four, but it was a defensive game until about the second half, and then that's
Pause.
when
Pause. What the
what
hell is she playing back there?
house flipper. She's flipping houses.
Flipping house. I don't know what I was looking at. I just got real bored with that OU talk, and I was just like, "What is she playing?"
Oh,
Like,
whatever.
I need to know.
Um, but
Um,
yeah, it was a great defensive game until about the second half, and then OU started. At least the secondary. I don't know. The line held pretty well, but the secondary started uh, laxing on coverages, and that's when they kind of pulled away a little bit. And then, of course, they sit Jackson Arnold, bring out the true freshman. He played a little reckless with his body. I didn't really like that, but he showed a lot of heart and he helped get them back in it. And they only lost by 10 points. So even though it wasn't the start Oklahoma was looking for going into the SEC, I think it's a great starting point, especially when you have Texas coming up on the 12th of October.
I want to say a little bit about that game because I only got to see the second half, so I'm not really sure how the first half went. But I'm pretty sure the score of at the end of the first half was 22-3.
I thought it was
Am I
I'll
wrong?
have to go back and look. I don't remember the
But what it looked like in the
yeah,
second half, and I think Oklahoma does have a good defense. I think they have a potential to be top five if they aren't already a top five defense by the end of the year. But what it looked like to me watching that second half, I think Tennessee was running the ball a lot trying to get out of the game. I don't think that it was necessarily they were just trying to throw the ball and things weren't going up. But it felt like almost every play I watched them trying to run the ball, just trying to get out of that game with for whatever reason. So, I mean, yeah, shout out to Oklahoma's defense for holding them to 25 points, but I don't think Tennessee really like went all out in the second half with their offense trying to fire on all
no.
cylinders.
It was 19-3 at half. The final score is 25-15. Another thing, like I gotta give shout out to the OU fans. 118 decibels on the field at one point. Like they were there and they showed up and they were ready to rock the stadium. Um, I've been in Norman a couple times, not as an OU fan. I was there a few years back when Iowa State upset OU in that game. I unfortunately was not there when Ohio State got to play OU because I had a broken foot and
I
was
was
not
there.
able.
I can tell
I
you the decibels didn't even reach 100 that day.
we'll
so
say granted, yes, it was 19 going into halftime, but that is the first time this season that Josh Heupel has actually toned down his offense. So he did show OU's defense the
to me, it
respect that
looked
they
like the same.
there's
It looked like the same offense to me. He
no
ran
he
the Josh
toned
Heupel offense.
He toned
But
it down though
I mean, their running
aggressively.
back only had 24 carries for 92 yards,
He toned it
194
down
yards in the
aggressively
air.
because he was taking a lot more risk in the first half.
Uh, I mean, you're not gonna want to be risky in a tough
Okay,
environment like that, but I get it. But we can move off to that
what's
game. There are two other things I want to shout out, and then you guys, I'll be done with talking about this week on my points. I want to shout out the service academy. Um, Army played Rice, no big deal. If you could guess the score without knowing it, it'd probably be like under 40 something as a combined score, right? No, Army put up 37 on Rice. And now back to the Florida State comment from the coach. You know, Memphis is a great program, blue collar school. They gave up 56 to Navy
Go Army
and
beat Navy.
lost.
It's the only game that matters. Go Army beat Navy.
You know what? It does not matter. 37 and 56 points from service academy schools is impressive. Those they don't get over 30 very often.
So one game I would like to touch on. Number 25 Texas A&M scrapes out a win versus a one. Well, at the time 1-1 Bowling Green, 26-20. Uh, Tennessee did not, or not Tennessee. I'm sorry. Texas A&M did not look that impressive against a Bowling Green team.
No,
Uh,
I didn't watch
if
that
we,
game, but I did see that score. Um,
they, I mean, passing, he was 16 for 29, 173 yards, and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Um,
is that
so I don't
Wingman?
think
Wigman? Connor Wigman is the quarterback there.
for A&M,
Yeah,
Reed,
Reed. Where's
Marcel Reed.
Wigman?
And then they had 42 carries for 237 yards, no touchdowns. So what I'm seeing basically is rushing. They're either not finishing in the red zone or they're just passing in the red zone. Because offensively, I don't see a problem here. Besides the one lost fumble, I just think their defense gave up too much to a Bowling Green team. I think it's a defensively thing for A&M, and I think the Aggies are going to need to get that figured out before they hit the heart of their schedule.
All right. Any games that you wanted to talk about there, Cody?
Just looking at the final scores, we have a lot of close games with some ranked teams, but I really just want to give a shout out to South Alabama. I don't know what they have going on. They beat an App State team, which surprisingly they're somewhat pretty good most seasons, and then also JMU putting up 70 against UNC. I know JMU has looked good for the most part, but come on, like North Carolina was a top 15 team last year. They couldn't have lost too much. I know they lost their quarterback. 70 for JMU is pretty impressive against
I
North
mean,
Carolina.
they had to put up 70. They gave up 50. That was a classic Big 12 game. There was
Yeah,
no
that was a
defense
classic.
in that game.
No defense.
No defense.
That was that was impressive. 70 burger. Um, that was another one I was interested in talking about. With that being said, we can move on to the Cody's question of the week.
Yeah, I battled with what question I wanted to ask. I think it's just going to be a simple question this week. If you go and look at the rankings for the top 25, just to narrow it down, out of the top 10, what is your most overrated team and your most underrated team right now?
Top 10.
You said just top 10, most overrated and the most underrated.
Yes.
All right, I'll start off. I do. I mean, as an OU fan, can't stand Texas, but I do think this is a good Texas team. I think that they're kind of overhyped. I mean, besides, let me pull up their schedule real fast, because if I remember correctly, and I mean, besides, man, Mississippi State's not that good this year. That's who they got next. But besides Michigan, they really haven't played anybody. Yeah, they're averaging 50 points and 3 of those games and 30 in the Michigan game. But other than that, I think without Quinn Ewers, although I do like Arch Manning, he didn't have that spectacular of a game. He had, I would say, an average starting quarterback game, and I think I'd put him at like 2 or 3. I'd even put Ohio State over him at this point. I think they will prevail later on the season, but I just think they're a little overhyped right now.
What's your most underrated team?
Underrated. Looking in the top 10 only. Let me click on this. Miami is what I'm thinking here. Uh, yeah, I would say this Miami team. Um, Granted, I mean they played Florida. Florida's not a bad team. They put 40 on them. They played Florida A&M, put 56 on them. Ball State shut them out 62-0. South Florida put 50 up again. So granted, they're not playing powerhouses right now, but at the same time, the only team that I mean, out of those two games, 15-17. 17 is the most scored on them, and that was Florida. I would put them currently they're sitting at 7. I would possibly put them at 6, and I would drop Alabama to 7 and move those 3 up.
With that being said, I'm fairly certain most of this is correct. I would have said if before this weekend, with Clemson just dominating an NC State team that I did think was a pretty good team, and they might be really bad going forward.
Speak up.
With that NC, Georgia was who I originally thought of, and I still maybe think they're not the number 2 team in the nation because I don't even think they're the number 2 team in the SEC. I think Tennessee is, and I would just flip those two. I'd put Georgia at 5 and Tennessee at 2, and that would be my overrated and underrated. I think Tennessee did a lot more than what people are realizing in Norman with going into
Mm.
that environment of that crowd, defense of the team. I just think that Tennessee is maybe the second best team in the SEC. With that being said, we'll get a real test and understanding of what the top 4 teams look like this week with Alabama versus Georgia at 6:30 on ABC.
I will say I don't like OSU being 20, OU being 21. I mean, granted, Utah's a good team, but OSU's not playing at Tennessee. OU's not playing, or OSU's not playing Tennessee. I don't see them being better than OU at all. I think OU could go into Stillwater right now and just remind everybody who ran the Big 12.
Oh, so you
Out of the
just
top 25, I do
you
not like
but
that.
you guys ran to the SEC away from the Little Brothers. Don't you remember? Don't you remember that?
No, we didn't run away from them. You want to bring up 118 years of history, 91 wins.
Um,
They only amount
what was the last 10 years?
the last 10 years. OSU has won, I think, 2 in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I just think it was funny that OSU fans are like, oh, they're running away from us. We can't play them out of conference every year.
No, I don't like that. I don't even like Texas A&M being in the top 25 right now.
Um, I think Iowa State's getting disrespected at 18.
I do, yeah, I do too. I'd like to see Iowa State
I'd
top
put them in
15.
the top 15. Yeah,
Yeah, top
top
15.
15. With that being said, we'll go into actually what I believe the playoff bracket would look like if it started today. Um, I got Texas at 1 because they're the SEC champ. Ohio State at 2, Big Ten champ. Miami 3, ACC champ. I think Clemson's climbing, and you'll see that later because I didn't even have Clemson in the top 12 last week. Um, Utah, I have at 4. I do still think they're the best team in the Big 12. I don't know that even Iowa State could beat them, but I think Iowa State's looking better and better, and they're getting into a grouping quick. Oregon at 6, they're the second best team in the Big 10 as of right now. I thought it was going to be USC. If USC would have done what Texas had did to Michigan, I would have looked at them and said they're the second best team in the Big 10, and they're just not. Clemson had blown out the last 2 games. I still don't necessarily know they're playing great comp, but they're probably now looking to be the second best team in the ACC with Boston College right behind them. I did drop Boston College out. I just don't think that there's a spot for a third ACC team to get in, but I'd like to see Boston College as they continue to roll through. Um, Iowa State at 8. Again, they're the second best team in the Big 12. I almost like 4, 5, 4, 6, 7, and 8 can be switched around because of the second team in the conference, except for Tennessee. Tennessee's going to get that game against that um, the 12 seed, which I have at Boise State right now. We have 9 for Penn State. Third best team in the Big Ten gets in. Third best team in the SEC gets in. That's Georgia and Alabama at 11. I think this week, though, there are two teams to watch, and they can potentially make a mark for themselves and move up. And that's Notre Dame or Louisville. If Notre Dame can find a way to prove that they are a top team, they take that spot at 11 because they play each other this week. It'll be a home game for Notre Dame. The problem with that game and the reason why I don't want to watch it is it's on Peacock only. And they have worst, the worst everything. It just sucks. Um,
Yeah,
and then
Peacock is not enjoyable at all.
I still have Boise State as the best um, group of 5 team. They're the only group of 5 I believe ranked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with that being said, James Madison will be favored in every game they play here on out. They can go undefeated in the Sun Belt and potentially get in. And UNC, if they start making waves in the ACC, that win's going to look real good for them. And the Boise State loss to Oregon's not going to be enough to get them over. Um, the other two teams I'm interested in watching this week is Ole Miss. I don't. Ole Miss plays Kentucky. I want to compare that game to the Georgia Kentucky game. However, it is a home game for Ole Miss, and then Illinois goes into Penn State for a 6:30 or 6:30 our time, so 7:30 game. And I would not be surprised if that is the whiteout game, and that is a tough environment to play. And Illinois will get to prove are they a top 4 or 5 team in the Big Ten with that game, and I do have them at 4 right now, even over Michigan.
Hmm. Mm-mm-mm.
Any questions or concerns about that playoff?
No, I don't really.
Man,
Huh?
Huh?
You are
What?
code there, Cody.
they're putting Penn State versus Illinois at the same time as we're getting Georgia versus Alabama. At
And
close to the same time we're watching Ohio State and Michigan State.
yeah, I was gonna get into that. I put the times for all the games I wanted to watch, except for the Oregon UCLA game, because I think that's a 9:30 game.
Yeah, I get to watch the Georgia Alabama game, but I don't have Big Ten Network, so
With that being said, I would like to move on to those games for next week. Um, for me, I have a bunch of them wrote down because I think a lot of them will matter for the brackets. So you got with the two 11 o'clock games, so 12 o'clock Eastern time. We got Ole Miss versus Kentucky. I want a comparison in how Ole Miss plays versus how Georgia played that team. Although I understand Ole Miss is getting that as a home game. OK State versus K State is also at 11 on ESPN. I
OK
want to
State takes
see
that.
what. Slow your roll.
They
It
take
is
that.
it's at Kansas State, by the way. I don't know if that
I,
changes your opinion, but
no,
that will
they
tell
take that.
that'll tell me who the third best team in the Big 12 is. I still think it's one of those two teams. Um, and then for the 2:30s and the 2:40 games, you got Notre Dame versus Louisville again on Peacock. Terrible. I am so frustrated that a game that high caliber, which is probably the best game to be watching at the 2:30 slot, is on Peacock. Like whoever made that decision screwed themselves because it's gonna get views for a little bit, and then after the first quarter, everybody's gonna be like, "This is terrible. I'm gonna go watch either the USC Wisconsin game or the OU Auburn game." And I do have that OU Auburn game at the 2:40 slot on ABC because it's in Jordan Hare Stadium, and again, that is one of the tougher places to play in America and they typically have a good defense and they're a hard out in the SEC. I we'll be interested in seeing who trots out as the starting quarterback this week. If it's still going to be Jackson Arnold that they're getting benched, or if they're going to trust the true freshman and just get him the experience going forward.
I think
Um,
they go forward with Arnold. I think he just had a bad game, and I don't blame him at all for pulling him. I think you pull him out of there. You see what the true freshman's got, and you let your starter shake his nerves off. I fully saw them putting him back in, but after the way the true freshman played, I don't hate the idea to keep him in. But I definitely think he gets to start against Auburn.
Yep. All right, and with that being said, we move to the 6 to 6:30 slots. Ohio State versus Michigan. I do actually think Michigan State's a very improved team. They did lose this weekend to Boston College, who again I believe is a very strong team. And it was 23-19. The quarterback for Michigan State throws 3 interceptions in that game. So Boston College's defense showed out and helped them get that win. And then you get the Alabama Georgia, which everybody in America that loves football is going to be watching that game. Alabama does get the home field advantage, and I'm interested in seeing what the supposed SEC looks like. Um, if it's going to be a blowout or if it's going to be a close game that comes into an overtime possibility. And then again, Penn State versus Illinois. Illinois' defense is looking really good. As a team, they're looking good, but I'm thinking that Penn State game, I don't know if it is a whiteout um,
All
game,
right,
but
I
and
think
then
I think it's a whiteout game.
it should be the whiteout game. That's the whiteout game you need. Unless Penn State gets Ohio State at home, and then you make that Ohio State game the whiteout game. That
Listen,
game, Penn State goes hard, but the whiteout games go even harder.
listen. I want
I'm
to get a
excited to
little.
watch a whiteout game.
I want to get a little spicy here. I'm gonna do a little hot take. And it might not be a hot take, but the Friday game looks like a snooze fest for me. It's Miami versus Virginia Tech. I think Miami's going to run over Virginia Tech, but I think this is where Cam Ward solidifies his spot as the number one in the Heisman race. And I think he goes off. I think he has an amazing game, and there's no doubt in my mind Cam Ward will probably be your Heisman winner this year. Calling
Okay,
it
that's
week
that's
week 5. Calling it week
that's
5. I want you to come back
that's
to this video, and I want you to remember week 5. I saw into the future, and it's Cam Ward holding that trophy up because he is the best player right now.
So
whoa, whoa,
here's
whoa, whoa. Outside of
you say
outside,
Cam Ward's going to be win the Heisman.
Yep.
You're an idiot.
Nope.
Travis Hunter's winning the Heisman, and
Nope.
simply because he's playing at an All-American level on both sides of the ball. I don't
I
care if
agree.
Colorado doesn't win another game for the rest of the year. He deserves that trophy. Like
They
nobody
will.
else has deserved it more.
I'm telling you right now, they will snub him out. I don't know why, but they will snub him out. It makes no sense to me either, but they will snub him out, and Cam Ward will get it.
You want to make a bet on this? Because I'll die on the hill that
No, I
Travis
got
Hunter's
Bills.
winning the Heisman this.
I got Bills. I can't make bets, but just remember that I called it week 5. Okay.
I'm not saying we
All
got to
right.
throw money on this. How about this? The first episode after the Heisman Trophy is announced, the loser has to do the hottest chip challenge.
How do you
Which
want? How do
the
you
the
want better?
odds are against me. I'm picking Travis Hunter to win it. If
How
anybody
do you want
besides
better?
Travis Hunter wins it, you win.
You get me whatever Ohio State swag you want, and I will wear it for the entire offseason.
So does that mean I have to wear OU swag for the entire offseason if Travis Hunter doesn't win it?
Yes.
You know what? I can live with that.
And it doesn't have to be a T-shirt, a jersey, whatever swag you want.
All right, I want you to lock that in right now.
It's locked in.
Lo-
It's on video. It's on video.
I'm getting you an Ohio State sundress.
Okay. Travis Hunter wins it. I will wear an Ohio State sundress the entire offseason.
I will only wear male attire though because that's 133 other teams that could have a Heisman Trophy winner. Actually, it's still 134 because Shador Sanders can still win it. But Travis Hunter will and should win it, excluding injury.
Now, if neither one win it,
No, I'm giving you the entire college football. anybody besides Travis Hunter wins it, you win the bet.
Okay, fair enough.
That's why if he does win it, you wear a sundress. But if he doesn't, I don't wear a sundress. I just wear like a polo jersey or
I get you. I
sweater or
get you
whatever.
something. It's not gonna be. It's
Yeah,
gonna be ridiculous. I'll find you something
it could be
ridiculous.
it could be a hat. I don't care.
All right. Let's move on
Back
to.
to that Penn State game though.
Yeah.
It is not a whiteout game. It is the homecoming game, and they're also honoring the 30th anniversary of the Rose Bowl win over Oregon from 1994. So it's got a little bit of implications, but it is not the whiteout game, which is disappointing because the whiteout game is November 9th versus Washington.
What is the game they're honoring?
The 1994 Rose Bowl win over Oregon.
Who the fuck cares? You know how many teams
might-
have won the Rose Bowl in a possibly upset, if that's what it's about? Who the fuck? What are you honoring? A game that you should want to win? Now, if it's because a guy died, I'm sorry. I do apologize. But what the fuck?
I mean, like, it is what it is. But that they usually honor something always at halftime of home games. Every team does it. So that just happens to be when the best fit was for them. But
Shit,
you wanted to move on?
we had the only fucking guy that has won us a national title in the 2000s, and all we said was, "Hey, give him a a high five or something," and then got the game started.
What,
What are
Josh
you
Hospital?
honoring? Yeah.
Like,
All right, moving on. Let's go to upsets.
upsets? You mean the Gillum pick 5 where you give us some
No,
picks?
upsets.
You want our upset predictions of the week? We're just gonna
Want you
skip the Gillum 5.
No, that's after because I like to pick. Not pick 5. I do like 4, don't I? 3 or 4.
I
We'll
picked my upset first.
last
I like
week.
to do that. I like to do that after because I don't want to pick. I don't want to pick. I don't want to ask you all about the upset games because you're gonna give me that opinion anyways.
Fine. We'll give an upset and then we'll do the pick 5 and then we'll do bold predictions.
Joe, go ahead. Give me your upset.
You may not think it's an upset. UCF is 3-0 and they're favored by 14 points, but Colorado wins that.
Colorado. Oh, you have Colorado.
Colorado
UCF has a good quarterback.
Yeah, but I don't know what it is, but in my gut, I looked through the whole slate 3 or 4 times, went and took a shit, was still looking at the slates, and was like, only this game, Colorado versus UCF, sits out on me.
I don't even see
I
that
have
game.
a game. That's interesting.
There's another one. I do think
have two. I
Illinois
have
has
two.
the potential to beat Penn State, but I don't
have
see
two.
it happening because I wasn't sure if it was a whiteout game or not.
Cody,
But
go
I'm
ahead.
gonna stick with Colorado UCF game.
Well, since I'm the king of upset predictions, I'll go ahead and pick another banger, and that's going to be South Alabama versus LSU.
That
You
was
have
a good one.
South Alabama beating LSU.
Come on, now
Yeah.
they've scored like 120 points in the last 2 games.
What is the spread on
Have
that?
you watched them play? They look solid.
Yeah,
This
let's just look here.
like I don't. I mean,
they're
it can't
not
be any
really.
crazier than BYU over K State.
They're not really
If you were-
playing
But
anybody.
BYU was
that
only
is fucking.
K State was
What's the spread on that game?
20 and a half by LSU.
They're
You
just
heard it
not
here,
really
South
playing
Alabama.
anybody.
Shocking
Okay.
the world.
All right, so we skipped over a step here. I give Cody's a 5-star. If they pull that off, that's a 5-star.
Are we changing the ratings? Because originally we just had the upsets being 1 point if they covered the spread. So like if South Alabama loses by less than 20 and a half
Oh,
points,
is the bold
he gets
prediction the
point.
stars?
Bold predictions is the stars.
My bad. Reboot. I'm an idiot. Sorry.
It is
I'm
a
an idiot.
5-star.
We know that.
That is if we were rating it like that, that would be a 5-star upset though. That's pretty crazy upset if that does happen. All right. So I have 2 I'm looking at. I'm looking at an Arkansas over a Texas A&M. That was not a crazy upset, but I am looking at that one. I'm looking at Arkansas to come in and knock A&M out of the top 25. And then I am looking at the Illinois Penn State game.
Riding with Illinois, huh?
Yeah, that's. I mean, they pulled off one, but this one, it's got Penn State winning 86.4%. So this one's a little heavier. It is,
Um,
but
that's a 17.5 point game, right? I remember looking at that one earlier, right?
18,
It's straight up
something like that.
18.
That's what it says. PSU minus 18.
Okay.
Uh, man, I gotta set one in here.
Sit one in here for what?
I gotta do my pick, man.
Is that you picking Illinois? Oh, for our picks.
No,
So here's the deal.
I'm going Illinois over Penn State. Give me Illinois over Penn State. They're gonna
I
go in
I
there. They're gonna ruin
and
the
it
celebration of the 30th annual Rose Bowl. You know, they're gonna
so,
Mhm.
they're gonna
so
upset
I do have a question.
mainly because I fucking hate that. It's so stupid. Like, good for them, but
I do want to go back to Cody's prediction real quick for the upset, and I think that we should give an extra point for G5 schools, and if if South Alabama does beat LSU, we'll give you
3 points.
Yep.
Okay.
So G,
But if they don't, you
he,
lose a point.
I'll receive my 3 points right now because it's gonna happen. They're gonna shock the world, just like
Ah,
BYU.
I don't think so.
that
All right, you
Kansas
got
State was favored by 7 points of the spreads last week.
BYU,
You had the
BYU,
lowest. You had the lowest.
BYU,
You had the
BYU.
lowest point
All right.
spread going into that game.
All
The
right,
It
settle
was
down.
Illinois
nine.
was
It was
Settle down.
9-6.
Settle down, boys.
K
Put your dicks
State
away.
with a minute and 20 seconds left to go in the half, and it ended 17-9. They
Cody has a
scored
point. Listen,
a bunch of
listen.
points.
We're done with that. Get your dicks off the table. We're moving on. All right.
I think not.
All right.
I'm still upset about this, but fine. Give me something else to be upset
They
about.
won by
I
31 points.
You
They
know
were
what?
7-point underdogs and won by
You're just gonna
31.
have to ride with
Yeah.
BYU for the rest of the year. That's just what
I,
it is.
I can't. They played Baylor. That's not
Listen.
gonna. Baylor
I do
upsetting.
want to talk about the BYU game. I want to know y'all's thoughts on the
After that.
BYU Baylor game. BYU's only favored to win 52% to 47%. Um, I have. I don't really think this is an upset, but I do have Baylor coming out and winning this game. I think it's a close game, but I have Baylor coming out and winning it.
We lost somebody.
He's still here.
No, I'm here, but my phone is going to die, so I need to charge it. So I will not be on the camera for the rest of the pod.
It's fine. We just need your voice.
You need to charge your phone next time if you're gonna use your phone. Or
We just
upgrade
need
to
your
a
voice.
computer. That is fine.
What are your thoughts on the
BYU
BYU game?
Baylor. Baylor is probably gonna keep it close. It's only gonna be a one score game either way. I do think BYU rides high on that big win on K State. Is it in Baylor or is it at BYU? Quick question. It doesn't matter. Whoever's at home wins that game.
BYU at Baylor.
Yeah, BYU at
Baylor
Baylor.
wins by a field goal.
By a field goal?
By a field goal.
You're going off the fucking spread. It's got Baylor -3. You're not clever.
Does it? Does it really?
Nah, you're not clever.
I still have the South Alabama spread.
Cody, what do you got? BYU Baylor. So your thoughts?
I think this game could go one of two ways. One, they're either going to be riding really high off the K State win and they're going to come out flat, or they're going to take that win and they're going to keep rolling with it. Either way, I don't think Baylor can close a game, obviously. If you're running man coverage in an obvious Hail Mary situation and you let a 40-yard Hail Mary take you to overtime versus Colorado and end up losing that game. So I have BYU probably winning by 10 points.
Mistakes
Close
were
game.
made. Mistakes
It's
were
a 10
made.
points, close game, BYU.
10 points
What?
is a close game.
I mean, it depends on what the 10 points look like. I mean, the Tennessee OU game was a 10-point game, and that wasn't a close game.
I would beg to differ.
Of course you
Alright.
would, homie.
All right.
I start calling you Simpson.
Next game. Mm, let's talk about the Stanford Clemson game. Clemson's favored 89%.
What's the spread? Is it 18?
22. 22.
22.
You're away
I
from your
did
mic.
look at. I looked at that game as an upset too. I think Stanford's a pretty good defense. Um, honestly, I want Clemson to look good, but then that makes Georgia look good. Clemson wins it, covers the spread.
Cody, what do you got?
Stanford, they beat Syracuse this weekend on Friday, and I think Syracuse is a pretty solid team. But man, Clemson has been blowing people out. I mean, I thought the NC State Clemson game was going to be pretty close. I think most people probably did outside of the spread. I think Clemson probably wins this 14-13. Or I meant 42-13. Sorry. 42-13.
All right. Last game I want to talk about. This, I think, is going to be a really good game. You have one team favored 62%, one team favored 37. But if you look, I mean, it's not a terrible slate. It's a 9 o'clock game. It is going to be 25 Boise State versus an unranked Washington State. I'll tell you why I like this game. I think I think Washington State can pull this one out. If you look, Boise State has played Oregon, and that was a decently close game. Washington State, they've played Washington, who I know they lost a lot of people, but they can beat a Washington team. They can beat a Texas Tech team. I have them going in and beating Boise State. Close game. It has Boise State at 7. I would argue to say Washington State 7.
Washington State is 4-0 right now.
Yep.
Um, it's played at Boise State. I like what you're saying. I do believe this is going to be a close game, potential overtime type of game. Um, I'm going to go with Boise State by a field goal, probably a late field goal. But I do think Washington State's a good team, and if they are gonna win this game, then they're gonna have to play like they have been playing in the previous weeks. But I think they could. I think they could beat Boise State.
Me too.
I think this game matters for Boise State. They have to win this. If they lose this, I think they're out of the playoff picture. I think they know that because I think they're eye watching that James Madison schedule and what they did to North Carolina. I'd say North Carolina is a similar team to a Washington State. Washington State might be a bit better. So Boise State's got to win it by a touchdown or two, or they could at some point lose their spot to James Madison. I think them playing close to Oregon was great and fine, and they almost came out with a win there. But if they don't win this game by a touchdown or two, I think it starts to pull questions on their playoff hopes. And so I think they do need to win it, and I think they do win it by at least 2 scores.
All right. And then following that, I just want to look at offensive leaders so far going into week 5. You in the passing, you have Jackson Dart at 1,500, close behind Cam Ward at 14. Uh, just for depth, we'll say 1439 with TCU's Hoover at 1418, Shador Sanders at 1340, and Brown at 1290. I see Ward and Dart keep climbing. I don't think Hoover's going to keep up. I see Sanders passing Hoover. And then rushing yards, you have Iowa's Johnson at 685 leading the pack. I don't want to go through all them because it's relatively close, 5,400 except for Johnson who's at 685. We're going to receiving. San Jose State, Nash 637. Close behind is Ole Miss's Harris at 628. I think it's actually interesting that San Jose State has a receiver up there when you have teams like Colorado, Mississippi, or Ole Miss, and Miami that actually have a good passing game.
Oh, yeah, that is all interesting.
Just wanted to highlight a couple of players there.
That is nice to highlight some players. With that being said, Cuddy, what is your bold prediction?
On the spot, Jalen Milroe is going to have 6 total touchdowns, 3 rushing, 3 passing against Georgia.
Do you want it to just be 6 total, or are you saying 3-3? That's the difference.
That is drilling down, because if you have 3 rushing touchdowns and 3 passing touchdowns in a game, I think that is pretty bold. As a quarterback, I don't think Georgia is the best defense, or maybe not even a top 5 defense. I don't think Georgia is that good.
Georgia is
And
one
it,
of the only 3 schools that haven't given up a touchdown this year.
yep, but it's at Alabama, and this game always has some crazy stuff happen. So that's my bold prediction. Jalen Milroe will have 6 total touchdowns, and we lost him.
You lost 2. I'm here.
Oh, I couldn't see anymore, but
Um, um,
Mm-mm-mm.
so to clarify, it's going to be 6 total touchdowns, but you want it to be specified that he's got 3-3.
yeah, but I don't think I should not. If he gets 6 total touchdowns, I don't think I should lose points if he doesn't get 3-3.
You're
But that's just a drill
specifying.
down.
Okay, yeah, he's saying 6 total no matter what, and he just wants to put out there that he thinks it's going to be 3-3.
Okay.
Oh
And
man.
you gotta think, like you said, Georgia hasn't given up a touchdown all season, so that's a
Where do you
Yeah.
rate this?
6 touchdowns against a top 3 team.
Team that hasn't given up any touchdowns.
Yeah, I'd say 5. I'd do 5.
I also believe it's a 5. I don't care if you split it 3-3 or if you just say 6. He's not.
Yeah, it's a top 3 team. They haven't given up a touchdown. I mean, I also don't think Georgia's that great of a team this year, but at the same time, they still are Georgia. But Alabama does know how to, even without Saban, they know how to play. They still have Saban guys there.
Kalen DeBoer's a pretty good coach.
Yeah, and they still have Saban kids there. They know how to play. If it's at home, I don't. 6 touchdowns is insane though.
What about you, Mr. Gillingham?
Man, this is tough. This is a tough one. Let me go in here. All right. I'm looking at Ole Miss. I'll give you a rundown here. I'm looking at Ole Miss right now. I'm looking at Jackson Dart. I'll go with a quarterback as well. They're going to be playing a 2-2 Kentucky team. Now, I really want to nail this down because I'm tired right now. I really
You
like
need
to
it.
capture the lead. Yeah,
I'll
I'm
go ahead
not
and give
throwing
you
this
mine
for the
while you
wind.
look at it.
Yeah, go ahead.
You look at that real quick. I'll give you mine. Penn State has only turned the ball over 4 times all year. Let me double check that. I'm not 100% sure.
Mm-mm.
They've lost one fumble, so they've only turned the ball over 3 times. An interception from Drew Aller, an interception by their backup, and they fumbled, lost the ball. They fumbled 3 times, lost it once. Ayu Buya. I'm not even gonna pretend like I knew how to pronounce that correctly. He's the backup quarterback for Penn State. So as a team, they've only turned the ball over 3 times all year. I think Illinois doubles that and gets 4 turnovers against Penn State.
You
Hmm.
think Illinois gets 4 turnovers,
As
and
a
you have
team,
Penn
Illinois
State.
gets 4 turnovers.
You have Penn State winning that game, and you have Illinois getting 4 turnovers.
I never said who was winning that game.
If
I just
Illinois gets 4 turnovers, I hope you're right. I hope you're right, because if Illinois gets 4 turnovers, they better fucking win that game.
you'd be
Yeah.
surprised though, because
Um,
how many stars can we get in there? 10, 10, 10, 10, 10.
I'll give it a 5-star just because 4 turnovers in a game is wild. If they're giving up 4 turnovers, they're probably not even close to winning that game. So
I give it a 5. I give it a 5.
Yeah.
So I switched up. I'm looking at Cam Ward. Cam Ward has 14 touchdowns this year. Give me Cam Ward in a game against Virginia Tech at no interceptions, 4 touchdowns,
Is that 4 total touchdowns or 4 passing touchdowns?
4 total. With I want you to add, because I think it's very possible against Virginia Tech. So I want to add 0 interceptions.
How many interceptions has he thrown this year?
This year in total, I'm honestly having a hard time finding his total. But I'd like have to click on every single
he's
fucking.
thrown two. He's thrown 2 interceptions this year. 14 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Yeah, 2 interceptions. He's been sacked twice.
Okay. Do you want to go out and rate that for him, Cody, or do you want to?
Uh, 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not an immaculate prediction, but
I'll give it a. I'll give it a 4-star just because he has 14 touchdowns right now in 4 games. That's averaging a little over 3 touchdowns a game with only 2 interceptions. I think 4-0 is very doable, but I also think that not throwing an interception in a game is, it's not very easy. Anything can happen. It
no,
can bounce off
yeah.
somebody's. So I'll
That's
give
why I
it a
wanted.
4-star.
That's why I wanted to add that, because I do think the 4 touchdowns is very possible, but 0 interceptions spices it up a little bit.
I want to clarify one more time. You said 4 total touchdowns, no interceptions.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm gonna give that a 3. For 2 reasons. One, it's 4 touchdowns. Cam Ward's a dual threat quarterback. He can easily get 3 passing touchdowns, which is what he's averaging a game, and a rushing touchdown. Their 0 interceptions is not as bold as you would think. I know throwing in interceptions can be random at time. The thing is he's thrown 2 in the season, and Virginia Tech has only produced 2 interceptions, and against
Okay.
okay-ish teams.
What is that? 2
His
stars?
QB,
How many points will that give me?
3.5 potential.
his QBR is 94.4. That's second in the nation.
Yeah, and he's not getting pressured a lot. I don't know that Virginia
It's
Tech gets a
points.
lot of pressures.
I didn't realize he was doing that good.
I need to
I,
get points
I
for that.
did. That's why he says Cam Ward, he better go off the chain and be like 8 touchdowns, or like he's not keeping up with the 5 stars that we've set up for
He
this
threw
game.
5 touchdowns against
Hey,
Ball State.
that gets me what, 3 possible points?
Gets you 3.5 possible points. We are doing half point because
Okay,
we
it
gotta
gives me
split the
3. It
reset.
gives me 3.5 points, and then I'm looking for my upset. Okay, I'm doing bold upsets. I'm doing bold upsets, so I'm gonna scale it down a little bit this week for the bold prediction. Just because I don't know, I don't like any other. I don't really like anything else. I would go Ollie Gordon, but
I wouldn't go Ollie
Don't do it.
yeah,
Don't do it.
he's fucking.
Like, I get
I would.
Utah's a great team. They're a top 5 rush defense in the nation right now. But Ollie, come on. Your team needed you, and you didn't even try.
Yeah, he's supposed to have. I was really excited. I'm not even an Oklahoma State fan, but I was really excited to watch him make a Heisman run, but it's just not happening.
Hold
Uh,
on. Before we end, let's just be honest. He has 73 carries for 258 yards with 4 touchdowns, averaging 3.5 yards a carry as of right now in college football. That is not even close to a Heisman race.
that's what I'm saying.
No,
Coming
it's
out
not.
this year, it was supposed to be like his Heisman race, and so far he has shown nothing. So I don't want to do a prediction on him just because I feel like he's going to do what Oklahoma State does every year to their fans and just gives them a big old plate full of feces and tells them Happy Merry Christmas because they fucking suck.
All right, when they come out and beat OU, don't cry.
They're not gonna beat
And
OU because they don't play no more because they took the opportunity for OU leaving the Big 12 to say, oh well, it's not our fault that they're leaving. We're not gonna play them no more. Now you're just fucking scared. You're gonna try to leave with a win and think you're all that in a bag of fucking chips.
to be so to be fair, while we're looking at this, and to throw this out there because why not? Since we're talking Heisman, and I'll end on this. Travis Hunter has 30 catches, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns in the month of September. In the 2024 season, he has 37 catches, 472 yards, 5 touchdowns for with a long of 46, and that's just what he's doing on offense. Um,
I agree. I never
and
said he wasn't gonna be in the race. I just said I
I,
think he's gonna get snubbed
and
because
and
they like to favor quarterbacks.
I can't even get to his defensive because it is wonky the way ESPN has it set up. Like I looked at
You're
his
making me go to
expect.
sleep right now.
Oh, you know what? You need to go to bed.
I need you to bring some energy.
You know what? You're right.
Um, but other than that, I think there's a couple impressive games this week. But I think it's just gonna be another. I think it's just gonna be another week for a lot of those uh, top 15 schools to put another win on the board before they hit the heart of their schedule. I don't think it's gonna be all that impressive week. Besides uh, a couple of the upset games, the possible upset games, or the rank on rank. I don't see it being that fantastic of a week. And I do hope I'm proved wrong. I hope that we have an amazing week, but I just don't see it. I see it being a very boring weekend.
South Alabama shocks the world this weekend.
If
Shocks the world.
if South Alabama pulls that game out, I will be the most shocked. Like
You
I
will
could
wear a
see them.
Michigan shirt during the Michigan Ohio State
Are you trying to get me killed?
game.
Like
All right. Well, that's gonna do it for us. We have surpassed the hour. Just remember, go comment on the YouTube video, like it, and don't be afraid to subscribe. We are the booth. Thank you for the review. Catch you back in week 6.